Buonasera. And welcome back to the Movie Pope podcast. And today we've got another great guest on the show. We've got Brandon Haynes here, and he is going to talk to us on what it means to be a director of photography or a DP, as we say in the business. Now, can I just say, we've never had a DP before on the show. We've had casting directors, people who've worked in craft services, writers, directors, people who do all sorts of things. But a DP is quite unique. So I'm really, really excited about having this conversation with you, Brandon. How are you doing today on this fine Friday afternoon, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's the start of baseball season, the first week, so I'm a really big baseball fan. So I'm really excited to finally have that in my life again.
No,
Uh,
no, I was gonna say because last week my co-host and I we went to go see Dune Part Two,
okay,
and I was kind of pushing him. I was like, so hey, on Sunday, because we went to go see it on Saturday, last Saturday.
yeah,
I was like, hey, we need to do our review of parts 1 and 2 on Sunday, and he was like, I don't know, I'm watching the MLB drafts, and I want to kind of focus on that. I'm like, oh, come on, man! It's just an hour or so. So we managed to get that done on Sunday. But I can totally understand where we're coming from here. How do you feel about the upcoming NFL draft? By the way,
I'm excited for it.
excited? Okay,
Yeah, I'm
gotcha,
excited for
gotcha.
it.
Now in terms of sports, who do you follow?
Sports. My main sport is baseball. Big baseball fan. Yankees diehard New York fan.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm liking what's happening with Otani. So the Dodgers have interest in him with him and Mookie. Um, and I'm into basketball and football in New York, LA, and San Fran are like my teams within basketball. And football, I am a New York Jets fan, and I bleed green and I cry green.
Yeah,
So those,
you're one of the green and
yeah.
white guys, aren't you?
So that's my yeah, that's me in teams and sports.
Yeah, better not say anything about Aaron Rodgers then. Moving on.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna say, I was gonna say, like you and my co-host would definitely, would definitely get along because he's a huge sports fan. His email address, oddly enough, is San Monflo, right? So
Hmm.
basically, it's an amalgamation of the San Francisco 49ers, the Montreal Canadiens for hockey, and the Florida Marlins
Hmm.
for baseball. So I was like, that's a pretty clever email address you got there, Lee.
Yes, that's pretty nice. Yeah. No, big sports fan. I mean, yeah, I grew up in sports. I used to play. And that that ideology around sports
Yeah,
that's carried over into my film career, and that's made me like a very, I think maybe one of a great collaborator, as I'm very team centric.
yeah,
There's never really ego. Is always putting the project first. Support for my captains, my leads, on the set in those productions. So
yeah.
I feel sports will teach you a lot about life. Um,
Yeah.
and it
Well, that
has
well, that
yeah
that in the military because you both kind of have to have that mindset where it's not me, it's the whole unit that's got to get this done. It's funny you should say that because a few weeks ago I had Alex on the show, Alex Patton, and he actually started off playing baseball. He played baseball professionally before he decided to go into acting. So you should definitely check that episode. I'll send you the link afterwards and check it out because it's a really cool episode
yeah
because
definitely
because the guy because the guy just said, yeah, I was playing baseball and I decided one day, you know what, I think I'm gonna try my hand in acting, and started off doing work as an extra on all these indie films, and he's trying to make his way up as a professional actor. So you said you played sports. When did you get bit by the film bug, or have you always been a film buff?
I've always been a film buff. I've always enjoyed going to the movies, watching movies.
Hmm.
But growing up, I never thought about how movies were made. I always was just about the end product. Oh, this is coming out. I gotta go see this. Gotta go see that.
Yeah.
So I didn't get like that film bug bite, that radioactive film bug bite, until 2015, where I went to my first film festival ever in my life. So going to there and seeing films um, behind the curtain of how a film is made, seeing producers, directors, writers, actors, having this accessibility to them, cinematographers, and seeing how they all come together to create this experience that we celebrate, we see in the movie theaters, in the theaters, or we watched um, on television. It made me was like, oh my goodness, I want to do this. I want to be a part of this. What can I do? How can I be in it? So that was like the first introduction into the film industry for me. And like from there, I was like, I need to obsess over it and engulf myself in it
Hmm.
with every facet of my being. And from there, figure out what is it that I excel at, what interests me, what I want to do. And it was cinematography, being a DP, director, photographer. So I've been like working, pushing, working at that every day for the last almost a decade now. Last,
Yeah, nine
yeah,
years.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
close to 10 years. Yeah.
yeah,
So, that's quite fascinating because because with with the filmmaking process, you always think there's only one guy at the helm, or I should say one person at the helm, and that's the director. But when you go to these film festivals, or you watch these TV shows about what's behind the scene, you come to realize there's like a whole army and a whole command structure of people who kind of make everything work, from like the gaffer to the craft services guy to the producer who's basically signing all these deals and trying to get funding so that these movies can be made.
right.
When did you so so when did you decide, yes, I'm going to go ahead and try this? Because you said it was 2015 and you went to a film festival. When Yeah, I mean, was it in 2015 that you decided to pick up a camera, or did you let it fester for a while before you decided, you know what, I'm actually serious about, making a movie?
I would say like it was 2016 is when I picked the camera. 20 like in 2015, it was boiling. It was the ideation, like how can I go about doing this? Like what is my interest? Or let me learn as
Right.
much as I can. Like what is the system in regards to film? Like how films are made. Like getting all of this foundational knowledge of the industry and how the different roles um, was what happened directly after going to that festival.
Uh-huh.
And it's in the top of 16. I was like, all right, I know what it is I want to pursue. I know what it is I want to go after. And started putting pedal to the metal. Um,
Now, did you go
and
out and buy a camera right off the bat, or did you kind of like have to do some research and talk to people to figure out like how do I go about doing this? What's the
no,
gear?
so for me, so I was already working in the creative industry in some facet. So I was doing I was a photographer, still photographer, and photo assistant prior to that. So I had some exposure to the creative tools that are used and had them available to me. And when I came about, it was during the DSLR revolution. So all
Yeah.
right, I had the Canon 5D and whatnot. So I was like going out, making little shorts here and experimenting to seeing how to understand movement of the camera and how the light, constant light is needed for video. While like in photography, you use strobe lighting. So understanding those differences, but things like framing, composition, colors and whatnot, I had an advantage in that. So I kind of excelled within that area. And because I was like working in the photography, we did a lot of fashion shoots, particularly around development for new models or existing models who have a new look. So when we were doing those developments, I always was like pitching a video. Can we do a video? And with each one of those videos, it was like learning a little something about the filmmaking process for me to improve on. Like, oh, this angle works great for the talent, or this type of lighting works great for them. When we position it here, we move the camera this way. When we go in this way, so it was like that was like my film school essentially, where I
Hmm.
got to really experiment, trial and error, to see what worked, what didn't work, and because I was offering the video component as an additional, like like as a free of charge. Let me just experiment, do this, and see what you think of it. Then we'll take it from there. Um, so doing that enough helped me refine, and I was like, oh, we really like these. Like, can this be a regular? Um, and then it became a regular thing, and I continued to expand into other markets and then in areas of the filmmaking. So that's how I got into it. From that, did not go out and buy a camera. Luckily, I already had a camera,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I used what I had available to me to teach myself and build from there.
Well, I was gonna say because because working as a photographer, you pretty much have the basics down in
Yeah,
terms of in terms of how to compose a shot, how to light it, how to do everything, really.
yeah,
So really, you're just graduating from the level of doing still photography to doing, moving image,
yeah.
as it were, and incorporating sound into the whole thing. Um, so did you talk to any filmmakers for advice? Did you talk to anybody who had any connections to the industry about, hey, like, what do you think about this? Getting feedback and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was reaching out to individuals, people who could consider my senior at the time, for like their thoughts, and just to get feedback on what I'm doing or like how can I go about getting into this industry. And that they gave me the guidance and opened up doors for me to other individuals who are willing to give me an opportunity to shine. Yeah.
So so when you actually started immersing yourself full time in the filmmaking industry, did you start off as a freelance filmmaker, or did you start off as a DP?
Started off as a freelance filmmaker. I was like the um, one band man, where I was like, I can do this, I can do that, just to be able to shoot. But as the work grew, so did my position within the work. So it was like, all right, you did great on this. There's this project. They just need this. Would you be interested in doing that? I'm like, yes, I'll be interested in doing that. Because what I feel as a filmmaker, when you're a department head, you could say you want to do it, and people was like, okay, that's great, you want to do that. But it's really about showing that you can do it, having a body of work, creating, showing this is what my ideas are, this is what my vision is, this is how I see the world. And I was like, okay, I understand it. Yes, you can fit into this. We can use you in this. We would love to have you on this. We would love you in that sense to be a part of this production, this project in that way. But when you want to just talk about it, say, yeah, I want to direct, I want to DP, I want to production design, but you don't go out and do it. It just becomes something that you want to do, you're not doing, and you don't have that proof of body of work.
Hmm.
When you are a department head or you are a creative lead, essentially, where there's a visual representation of the work that you have to do and you need to do.
So so talk to me. How did you get work as a DP? What was your first gig like?
Uh, so let me see. My I'm gonna say my first gig um was, I was doing all these small projects where it was for the most part of me as a one band person, up until I was creating a very nice body of work. So I was doing the fashion, I was doing music videos, just like creating. And it got me to the position where there was like a narrative short film, where I was excited. I really wanted to be a part of it as the DP, but I know I was not there to be there for that. But the director of photographer who was doing that short, he liked the work that I was doing, and he took a shining to me, in terms of coming on as part of the genie team. I was the gaffer on it.
Hmm.
Um, so going on that production, I was the most prompt gaffer, most dotting the I's, crossing the T's. Everybody thought I went to film school. I did not go to film school. It's like, what? Because it was like, what school you went to? I was like, I didn't go to school. Like, what? but I just I've been exposed enough on set. I've seen how it goes from, like, again, from the still side of it, and just my own research, learning, understanding about the craft. That I was taking everything and applying it, and I was just there to soak it in and learn from that guy. That guy took a shining to me, took liking to me, and then he brought me on some other projects where I got to shadow him, work from him. And then there was he had a double booking, but he felt so confident in me, where he says, "Hey, I'm not available for this project, but this is what I already did for it." He was, so I need you to come in as just a pickup day, and just shoot. And it was for like a network episodic documentary where you're just doing like talking head interviews. So it was like kind of low stakes in terms of like, he can't mess this up. I seen what he can do. This is within the safety house.
Right,
So did
right.
it, nailed it out, and then the producers and other key people we're working with started like recommended me from that point on to like other and bigger projects. And it's really about communities. So you do really good in one area, it travels to word of mouth. And that's how I continue to expand and always being the second guy. So when that first person says no, I always make sure I'm available.
Yeah, you definitely want to put yourself out there. That's like the common theme with a lot of filmmakers is just networking and making sure that when people think of a project, they think of you automatically.
Yeah,
Uh, so,
yeah, is I would say is being very vocal about what you are capable of doing and what you want.
mhm.
Yeah, I always operate under the idea like closed mouths don't get fed. So if you really want something, you really want to do something, you need to be vocal. You need to be telling people about it, because when those opportunities come, they're like, oh, I knew Brandon was interested in doing this. I know Luca was interested in doing this. Let me hit them up. Let me give them a call, a text, an email, and see if they are available and interested in it.
Yeah, and at the same time too, you also want to back up what you're saying as
Yeah,
well, because like you said earlier, I mean, you can keep saying, I like to do this, I like to do that. I feel like I would be a good fit for that. But if you don't have, like you said, the portfolio or the body of work behind you, it's kind of
yes,
like, well, you're just running your mouth. Like, what good are you? You know.
yes, 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 yeah,
So,
yes, yeah.
so talk to me. What exactly does a DP do? Because in my experience, and in film school, I used to hear this joke where people would say the DP is just the guy who turns on the camera and then turns it off. But there's more to it than just being some guy who presses a button saying, "All right, well, the light's on." So can you go into detail about what a DP does, like how are they involved in the filmmaking process, and what influence do they exert in in the making of this product?
Certainly. So the DP, the director of photographer, is essentially at the highest the highest level and at the foundation a cinematographer. They are an artist and a technician. While being that artist and that technician, they are always being in service. At least I like to think of myself always in service to the director's vision. We are creative problem solvers. We are department heads as people managers. When you are a director of photographer, you are managing three departments. You're managing the camera department, you're managing the grip department, you're managing the electric department. Now, those could be three individual departments, three individual people, or those could be up to 500 people you have to manage essentially. So you're an administrator as well. But when you're that technician, that artist on a film, particularly in the narrative to TV space, you are there to guide the story along and defining what that visual language is for the film. Um, and it's also depending on your collaborators. You can be that artist or you could just be that technician. So you have to be flexible and able to adapt to your collaborators' working style. Um, your main collaborator being the director of the director. Um, and I would say like the superpower really for a DP to me is being a creative problem solver, because something is going to happen on set, something's going to happen in pre or on production in some facet where what you plan is not going to go the way, and that you have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to find the new way forward, and making sure you're managing time, meeting the needs of your director, your producers, and your other key collaborators, be like your production designers, art directors, and such. And yeah,
So are DPs involved in the pre-production stage, like storyboard and everything, or is it mainly the director who brings the storyboard to the DP and says, "This is what I want you to do"? How does that work out?
well, it varies. In the film and TV process, you are 9 times out of 10 a part of the pre-production process. The director will have some ideas that they have around the story that they're going to tell, or in terms of how it should be told, or what we should be doing to tell it. But usually in those areas is really you guys sitting down and discussing in depth, like, what are we trying to tell with this scene? What is the color palette we want to have to convey these emotions? Is really working all of those out. So you work, usually you'll work together and storyboard it. But at the same time, on the odd chance you do have those directors who are absolute and know what they want and what they need, that is really about you going out and executing on that.
So what would you say is the most difficult aspect of being a DP? Like if you had to pick one, like what would be the most difficult, part, and how do you normally go about, solving that issue?
I would say the most the most difficult part, I would say, is making sure you're giving the director everything he needs, and also balancing the production's needs. Um, so that can be a fine line, because you want to make sure you're protecting that vision that the director has for you. But again, the director is not the one who's hiring you, it's the producers who are hiring you. So you also want to make sure you're adhering to what their needs are from a monetary standpoint, as that ripples into crew, time, management, and other logistical needs that will pop up throughout a production. So it's like taking all of those components and making sure you're able to still provide a director with what they entrusted you with, in terms of making sure that story is able to come forth. The director says, I want this to be the most dreamiest production. Like, I want the scenes to be shot in a very dream or characteristic, texture driven way. um, I really have my eye on, I heard about these lenses. I really have my eye on us using these lenses. And it was like, okay, those lenses are out of budget, or they're not available, because there's only five sets in circulation. All the big productions have them. They're not going to give it to us for our production. They're not available because of time conflicts, or they're just out of budget. And then she's just like, all right, what is it about those lenses that you really like, that you really want? And me finding an alternative to give you the same thing while also staying within the budget, staying within the staying within the budget and the production's logistical constraints. Same thing if there's like saying we want this to be really a lot of movement, and but you don't have the budget to have a steady cam operator for all 5 days or all 20 days. It's like we only get, depending on what the production is, like we only have enough for him to be there for 2 days out of the five, or 1 week out of the 20. And it's really about working that balancing, with your producers, with your AD, with all your production team, to see the way forward. And again, while still being able to maintain that director's vision. And it's also, I think, is also like checking your ego as times. There are times where you can be very opinionated about how something should go or how something can happen, but is really about understanding why you're there, and being open and make sure you're listening. I think the key component to a lot of success for DPs and directors and any creative that's a collaborate and it's in a this collaboration art form is being able to listen, listen to what your crew needs are, listen to what your department head needs are, listen to what your director's needs are in all facets, because we're all working together to create something that is we all can be proud of and is in service to again this higher vision. And one way, I guess, for me, like my North Star in that is I never want to create something where the takeaway is, oh, that's an amazing shot. I always want like the cinematography to be like somewhat invisible, whereas allowing the story to unfold, allowing the story to happen, again, being in service to that story and to the emotions that we're trying to convey on set within the scenes, within the performances and such.
So when I was studying filmmaking, we initially started off with the mini DV cams. You remember those?
Yeah, yeah,
And then when I took my first film production class, we shot on the 60 millimeter cameras. You know, the old school ones where you put the reel in
yeah.
and then you had to wind it up. And then by the time I graduated, we were on the DSLR. So this is like on the cusp of the DSLR revolution you were talking about earlier. Um, would you because I'm trying to find a delicate way to word this. Which camera would you say is the best to work with?
Oh,
It sounds like a dumb question, but but I know sometimes people kind of have a preference for like film or digital or all that or whatever.
I would. Well, I say the best camera to work with is the camera that's available to you. Uh,
That's a good one.
it's the it's the person behind the camera that makes what is shown on screen shine. So it's really about understanding the limitations of the camera, the equipment that you have available, to you, because the cameras are just tools.
Yeah.
It's really understanding those tools and the limitations that they have, and understanding how to work within those limitations, or when you can exploit those limitations to your benefit. Um, that's the main answer. Now, my preference,
I
um,
was actually going to ask you that next. What's your preference?
now my preference is for the digital. Um, I love film, but there's just I love the immediacy of it. I love being able to really see and have that control. With film, there's a kind of you have control, but there's also a little bit of luck happening at the same time.
Hmm.
Where with the digital, there's a little bit more absoluteness in what you're getting and what you can do, and you have a better understanding of what you can manipulate. I do feel like with film, I feel like I'm more of an artist. I feel like I'm Bob Ross and I'm just painting, you
Yeah.
know? I'm like,
Exactly.
I'm like looking at my light meter. I'm like, we need a little bit more titanium white on this. Let's paint some trees over here. I get that type of buzz from it. But it's also a little bit nerve wracking. Like, wait, did I meter that correctly in my head?
It's so technical too
Yeah,
because
it's a lot more technical.
because I mean
Uh,
because if you've seen the way that people used to edit back then, it's like, oh my god, like I really it's kind of like doing brain surgery. It's like if I make the wrong cut here, I will have fucked up this entire film, and then I will never work again.
yeah, no, it's a lot more at stake. But there's an undescribable characteristic I find with film that we're always chasing in the digital world. And as you was like talking about Dune, like that's something that they're like very after, they're like on the cusp of. So I think like with the Dune production, that's like a film that's also like a very nice marriage between film and digital, as
Yeah.
they shot the whole film on digital, then they ran it through they ran it on film print to get the characteristics you get from film.
Yeah,
You
because
get
it had this 1960s quality to it, and
yeah,
I was even telling my friend and co-host last Saturday, I was like, it's got a very Lawrence of Arabia vibe to it, you know?
so like Greg Fraser, he's very much about texture, like how can I have the cleanest image and also the most texturized, characteristic, heavy image. So he's is really about a marriage of the two, where they shot it digitally, printed it on film, then redigitized it, and then from that they did the edit. So they started in the first one, carried that over also I think into the Batman, and next they did it in Dune 2.
You're
So
talking about Matt Reeves, not Nolan's Batman, right?
yeah, yes, Matt Reeves, yes,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah. Um, so that's like the marriage of the two of them. It's something about film that we just love that we can never get, we can never escape. I don't think.
It's very
Um,
artistic, you know.
yeah, yeah, it's the real paint.
So let me ask you this because now that you've mentioned it, I can't get my mind off of it. So is that becoming a more commonplace thing now to shoot on digital and do it the way that you described it? Just did you say they print it on film or they run it through film and then they
Yeah, they
redigitalize it?
yeah, they take the digital print and next they run it through film.
Okay.
The next they reroute it out to digitize it to get the grain, and the other film known qualities from it. Is something that they do. Um,
Is that becoming a common thing in film, would you say, or is that more for like
it's
big productions?
it's more for big productions. If you can afford it, people will do it. But it's usually the bigger productions have the budget to do those types of things.
Okay. So it's very
Uh,
expensive then.
yeah, it
Okay.
is. But everybody's looking for more ways to exploit digital film, in terms of making it more filmatic, or more, as we like to say, organic. Um, they're always looking for ways to bring that film quality into the digital space, be it through that process or film emulation, coloring, LUTs, and things like that through the coloring process.
Yeah, because because I know generally when you shoot things on film, it's like 24 frames per second, and I know for the most part, whenever people are taking these digital prints into editing, usually they'll try to edit it at 24 frames to kind of give it that filmic, at least filmic vibe
Yeah,
as best as they can. But
yeah, yeah,
obviously there's more to it than just editing it at at the same film speed as regular film.
yeah,
Um, because like you said, they've got to do a lot, in terms of lighting and coloring to kind of get the same effect that you would get if you were shooting with a Cineflex Airflex camera. Um, so, I do want to shift gears a little bit.
yeah.
So besides being a DP, you said you're also a filmmaker. Um, do you do more work as a filmmaker or more work as a DP? Would you
I,
say
I do more work as a DP.
as a DP?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The DP puts food on the table, and like the filmmaker director is where I get to have a lot of fun in terms of like what I can say artistically.
So
Yeah,
okay, so it's kind of like DP is your job and filmmaking is your hobby.
yeah, yes,
uh, which is a weird thing to say because you're working in filmmaking. Um, so
but just in different contexts, though.
different levels, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So we talked about this before we started recording, but you did mention that the three genres that you kind of find yourself working in are horror, comedy, and documentary filmmaking.
yes.
Can you touch on your fascination with those genres very briefly? Because I think it's a very interesting mix right there. Because usually when people pick a genre, they usually pick the one and they stick with it. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you on that. I'm like a film. Again, I'm a film. I have a lot of interest in film. I'm a film buff. I love all types of films.
Yeah.
Um, and I love what each one of those genres like tells me. Like in terms of horror, you can do so much with horror. You could make people laugh in horror. You can make people cry in horror. You can talk about social issues that are happening in the world. You it's it's so much that can happen within the horror genre. If you like would look at the horror genre, there's like horrors at the top, and then it's probably like 1,000 subgenres within horror that you can do. Um, It's not the same for drama, and every majority of other genres out there where they have so many subdivisions of it. And it just there's a lot of like creativity in that field. I find as a consumer of it. Um, so I'm really big in that. Um, Comedy, I don't know. I always been a funny kid growing up, and it just always like making people laugh or making like cracking a smile on somebody's face. When we had talent shows, I would like do a little stand up here and there. So it was always an interest to me, and like I don't know, I have this weird goal where I want to make a comedy film that Will Ferrell watches and he laughs. So as I grew up on Will Ferrell movies, like Talladega Nights is like one of my favorite movies. Uh,
It was just shot in Charlotte, by the way, and which is where I live. And can I say there's that remember that one scene where Ricky Bobby he's working for a pizza place or something,
yeah.
and he backs up and he knocks over something, and you see three of the guys laughing at him.
Hmm.
One of them is the brother of my classmate in high school, and
Huh.
I actually know him pretty well, Matt. So Matt, if you're watching, hey, how's it going? Ingenuity. And the and that scene where he's in the wheelchair in the gym, they actually shot it at my friend's Baptist church. So
Nice. I love it. I love it. Thank you for that.
I mean,
So
I will say this: my friend hates Will Ferrell with a passion. So nothing. So I think if you and I got together and we did a review of of a Will Ferrell film, I think that would be a great way to upbraid him. Like I think that would be a pretty good joke to play on him.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. We can review Talladega.
Yeah. Oh my God! Help me, Jesus! Help me! I'll help me, Tom Cruise. They can't make that movie today. Like seriously, I feel like because if you think about it, you remember the Ace Ventura, the first
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
the one where he's like, Finkel is Einhorn. Oh my God, Einhorn's a man, and he like starts vomiting. And I'm like, I'm sitting there busting my ass off laughing. I'm like, they could never make this movie today.
No,
People
yeah,
will be so sensitive. But back then, it was like, you know, I mean, if it made people laugh, we'll put it on film.
yeah. Same thing with Tropic Thunder. That's like another favorite one of mine. So like this can never be
Oh
made.
my God, they could never make Tropic
this
Thunder. No,
this can never be made today.
but Robert
But
Downey Jr. Holy shit! Like,
yeah, he
I
did
mean,
great. Everybody did great. He did great.
no, but RD like because we saw recently Robert Downey Jr. got
Got the
an
Oscar. Yeah,
Oscar, yeah,
yeah.
for best supporting actor. I was like, he should have gotten that a long time ago for Tropic Thunder, man. Like, come on, this is way overdue, man. It's just like Christopher Nolan, receiving his knighthood. I'm like, he should have gotten that a long time ago, man.
But I think also a funny joke within the Tropic Thunder is he technically did get his character did get the Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that was like a running joke where it's like he should have one.
And it took a few years, but he finally did.
He did, yeah.
He just had to play a crazy ass senator who was trying to you know,
That's
make
what,
Oppenheimer
well,
feel like an asshole.
that's what usually happens where you have to like get out of what people know you for. This okay, he's showing us the range. He's doing something
Yeah,
different.
yeah,
And for like the last decade and a half, RDJ's been very likable, playing very comedic, joyous roles for the most part of it, which
yeah.
we've come to know him from his SNL days, um, his comedy days. So I was like, this
Because
is
a lot of people forget that too. A lot of people forget that he actually did get a start in in comedy before he kind of moved on to
yeah, to the drama.
other roles. Yeah,
Yeah. So when he came back and did this like complete 180, it was like kind of it's like, oh, we're seeing him in a different. He's not no longer the fun guy who's going to put people in seats. He's an actor. And, he's
I
showing
mean,
us
we
that
kind of
range.
yeah. And I was gonna say, I was gonna say because we also tend to forget that he was actually, in other movies besides Iron Man.
Yeah,
Because the thing, not. I mean, it's kind of a two-way sword. It definitely helped him, but it also kind of hindered him a little bit because he kind of got typecasted as, as this guy who wears an armored suit and fights with the Avengers, and all that stuff. But you kind of forget he was also in Gothica as well, and
Yes,
then he was in shit. What was that?
the
What
rock
was
and
that?
roller one. Was it?
No, no, well, not that. There was a movie that he did. I think it was like in the early 2000s or late 90s. It had Michael Douglas in it. It's a,
Yes,
I think
yes.
yeah,
He's been in a bunch of stuff people just forget.
exactly.
He was in the U.S. Marshal with Tommy Lee.
Yeah, exactly,
You know, it's
exactly.
like you watch that
So
now, you're like, oh my goodness, is that who I think that is? Oh my goodness.
yeah, so then when you watch Oppenheimer, people are like, "Wow, he can act." I mean, the more appropriate reaction would be he could always act. It's just he hasn't been in movies where he could kind of express himself.
Yeah.
Um, sorry, we kind of got sidetracked there, but
No.
but
That's
then
the love. That's the love of film.
yeah,
It gets you
exactly.
anyway.
Exactly. I mean, that's the reason why I do this podcast is because we get to, not only do we get to talk films, but we also get to talk to people who make films. So but you did mention documentaries. What is it about documentaries that's just so fascinating?
I I just love learning. That's that at the core of it. That's where I love learning. I love people.
Yeah,
So like I will chat you to death, like trying to know everything about you, what makes your brain tick, where you come from, what's your dreams, your aspirations. I will learn all of that.
Brandon,
I feel like
why have you not started a podcast?
I just it's the time. I don't have enough time. I
Exactly.
have if we create an if we're able to like legally create another day, or we're able to like get Oppenheimer and Albert together and figure out how to break time travel, then maybe.
Yeah,
But
we can
yeah,
only
it's
hope.
you
So
don't hope. But yeah, it's just I don't know. Like I'm the type of person who will spend a whole day reading Wikipedia just for like random knowledge. Because that's interesting. That's cool. That's wonderful to know about.
yeah,
And I feel like with documentaries, I get to do that in real life. I get to meet amazing people, learn about amazing things that are happening in the world, which can inform us, bring us to action, bring us together, bring a joy into the world. There are amazing stories that need to be shared and celebrated. So it's uh, it's an amazing thing for me to do and want to be a part of because I just continue to get to learn to meet very interesting people and like new experiences in
yeah.
life that are based in the real world.
So so in terms of documentary filmmaking, like, is there a particular like topic or subject that kind of catches your interest? Because for me, if it has anything to do with history or religion, I'm watching that immediately.
Yeah, I would say if it's anything that's based in sports or history, I'm there for it. Like I worked on a sports documentary recently, which I'm really excited about. I can't wait for that to come out. Um, and I'm really also like big into like things that are like socially impactful that will bring about new information and change. So like I did a documentary about prison reform that's been very beneficial to um, to those individuals and helping them bring about better life for people coming out of prison into back into society.
Hmm.
And like I'm right now wrapping up a doc, a short doc about environmental justice or environmental reform, so like climate change and things of that nature. So yeah, those are some areas that I really gravitate towards. I also really love a crime doc. I haven't done one, but if you give me one, I'm going to watch it all the way through.
So you're talking about
Uh,
like true crime, that kind of
yeah,
stuff?
not it could be true crime. You ever heard of this one like Don't Mess with Cats?
That's, that
Where
that sounds familiar.
yeah, it's
Like,
like it's a Netflix one where it was this guy was like he was like a serial killer. And he killed cats along with people, and a cat community on Facebook tracked him down, found the killer, and got him arrested.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Good
So
lord.
like, so like I'm like, things that are like documentaries, things that like that. I'm like, oh my goodness, I need that. I need give me that. Let me watch it. Yeah.
So I want to go ahead and bring this episode to a close. But
Yeah.
Brandon, if people want to learn more about you or your work, or if they want to connect with you, where can they go?
Sure. So I'm available on Instagram and Twitter and my website. So my website is bhainesdp.net. And my Instagram handle is by dot bhaynes, and then my is by bhaynes. So there you can find me on all those platforms, where I'm like sharing stories, reels, set life tips on filmmaking, and yeah, new work.
Excellent. Well, I definitely need to bring you back for more episodes, man, because there's just so many things we could chat about. Like seriously.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
So as we bring this episode to a close, I like to ask all my guests this: what's your favorite movie or TV show that you've seen recently that you think is the best thing that everybody needs to watch right now? It could either be movie or TV show.
So TV show, right now I am watching on a weekly basis is Abbott Elementary. I love that comedy. Also another comedy find I found recently just through hitting the rando button on the streamers was Alien Resident. It's a silly TV show, but it's very wholesome and fun.
Oh, that's the one with
Uh,
Alan Tudyk, right?
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Um, and for something a little bit more serious, TV wise in the drama world, Shogun. Really enjoy that. But it's a lot of reading, so be prepared if you want to check that out.
Yeah, I have to watch that because my co-host keeps nudging me and saying, "Hey, you got to watch Shogun. You got to watch Shogun. It's really really good."
It is, but it's a
So,
commitment. It's a commitment.
oh yeah. It's one of those things where where you kind of have to watch it, from beginning to end. You can't just like tune into episode 4 and know what's going on.
Right, right.
It's one of those
So
shows.
yeah, but it's good. And I enjoy it. So that's what's happening for me in the TV favorite. What's favorite in my world.
Excellent. Well, Brandon, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be on this podcast, and I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this episode. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, we'll catch you in the next episode. Ciao.